Hey YouTube, just coming to you guys real quick. I apologize for my parents' morning sickness, ain't no joke. I actually just want to talk about racism today. It seems to me that about 70, I could go as high as to say 85. It seems to me about 85% of the population, if you were to ask them what racism is, they would actually describe prejudice to you. And that's a problem. It's a huge problem because we can't. That's why people think that racism no longer exists, because they can't recognize it. That's why it's so hard to believe that, oh, it's 2014. You think racism still exists? It only exists because you're still talking about it. Like, no, boo boo. I always say prejudice hurts feelings, racism affects lives. Excuse me. Racism is a belief, it's a doctrine, a social construct. Prejudice is more, I don't even want to say opinion, feeling. But racism, there's a reason that white people can be racist against, black people and people of color. And why black people and people of color can't be racist against white people. So from the top, white people can be racist against black people, people of color. Black people can also be racist against other black people and people of color. People of color can also be racist against other people of color and black people. But people of color and black people cannot be racist against white people. And here's why. Like I said, racism is a social construct. Let's compare it to a house. The foundation that America was built on is racist. The walls are racist. The doors, drywall, everything that holds this structure up is racist. The Declaration, the Constitution, those men were like-minded. Those men back in 1776 were like-minded, and it wasn't just freedom they wanted. It wasn't just freedom from Britain that they wanted. They actually strive for a perfect society. You could actually look it up now. It wasn't simply to separate themselves from Britain, though that was a huge part of it. They also wanted to be a country on their own. What they wanted their country to be. They were very specific. They did strive for a perfect society, which was devoid of black people, Native Americans, people of color. So that's what needs to be understood. That America was not built on the fact that, oh, we want to be our own country, separate from Britain, and that means black people, white people, women, children. No. That was for white men. Not even white women. It's like a lack of respect. That was for white men. They strive for a very specific society in which we don't fit. So understand that that foundation that America was signed upon, was built upon, that still exists today. It cannot not exist today. It's what the country was built off of. It's the foundation the country was built off of. It's the walls that hold the country up. That's what it is. So when I say prejudice affects lives, I could not hire a white person because of their skin color. But okay, like that would simply hurt their feelings, but they are still in a better position than I am. The person who just rejected them from a job, they are still in a better position than I am. The system still works to their advantage and not mine. It really means absolutely nothing that they didn't get this one little job with me, because the entire system works to their advantage. The entire system believes white people to be superior and black people and people of color to be inferior. So it just hurt somebody's feelings that they didn't get a job because they're white. But me not hiring a black person because they're black, that's not just prejudice. I like to think that that racism is prejudice in motion. Kind of. Does that really work? I don't know. Because me not hiring a black person for their skin tone, me being black, I'm perpetuating the system. I'm perpetuating the doctrine, the belief that the system was built off of. That means my boss, though they may not, be blatantly racist because they hired me, my boss backs that. Their boss backs that. The CEO, the president, it's backed all the way up to the president of the United States. I need people to think about it in that way. Nothing could be done about slavery, like a huge rebellion or anything like that, or because it wasn't just your slave masters who were racist. Who could you go to if you were to run away from your slave masters? If you were to start a rebellion, even from your slave masters, how effective would that be? It wouldn't be too effective because the entire country was racist. I mean, there was no place that you could turn to get a different reaction. It's not even fathomable that one person would actually have their back. So if that one plantation in America, treated black people inhumanely, then that would really be prejudice. Prejudice in relation to the entire country. It's racist in the household, and I'll actually get to that because that's actually a great example. It's racist in the household, but it's just prejudice to the relatives to the country. You could not, everyone all the way up to the president was racist, believed you to be less than you are. That's why there couldn't really be a huge uprising back in the slave days. It wasn't just your slave masters. It wasn't just that town that believed that. It was the entire country. You are being disadvantaged. Like, this is an entire country that believes that the same thing that your master believes, that you are less than you are. That's the difference between racism and prejudice. Prejudice affects lives, or prejudice hurts feelings. Racism affects lives. For the example, like a house. Okay, let's say, for example, that this country was colorblind, but there were white slave masters and black slaves, like maybe just one or two in the South. That would not be indicative of the entire country. That would be prejudice. If we were all on equal ground, racism wouldn't exist. There's no such thing as reverse racism. If we were all on equal ground, racism would not even exist. It would only be prejudice. So if we actually lived in a country that was colorblind, and there were maybe a few white masters with black slaves, we couldn't call that racism because it's just within that small little plantation relative to the entire country. It's simply prejudice because you could go 10 miles from the plantation and be somebody, be an actual person. You were only less than a person on that plantation, but with respect to the entire country, you are somebody. So that would simply be prejudice. It doesn't actually affect your life. You could move on and make a better life for yourself, but the entire country is racist. There's no way that you could turn to get a different reaction, to get some understanding. So that's what needs to be understood. That's how it was back then, and that's how it is now. Just, of course, what's the word? They're a little smoother with it. You feel me? But those doctrines still stand. Those beliefs still stand. We don't get jobs. We don't get loans. we get what's the word I'm looking for? We get inaccurate history books, and that it's not even the inaccuracy that's the problem, because that's taught everywhere. Inaccurate history is taught everywhere in white and black schools, but we receive the books that are falling apart. We receive, just this subpar, just things like that. That's what racism is. We didn't get those things because it just happened. We just happened to be the last on the list. All the black communities just happen to be the last. Like, that's done purposefully. Like, we are purposefully being disadvantaged. Like, it's the doctrine that this country was built upon, that these men signed, in 1776, still stands. Nothing has changed. It's just the times have changed. So we've evolved with it. So now we don't have to worry about being enslaved physically, but we do have to worry about being enslaved mentally. So just so people remember that racism is like a house, or this country is like a house. The foundation it was built on is racist. The walls are racist. Just like, okay, let me not say a house, literally. The foundation is white. The structure is white. That is America. If you walk in this house, you see escalators, and you see broken stairs. Okay? That's what America is. It's a white foundation, a white house, white rooms up top, and an escalator that never shuts down for the white people to get to these white rooms. And the stairs reserved for black people and people of color are broken. That's what America is. We have to that's why we have to work so much harder to get anywhere in life, to get recognized, to get respected in white America, because white America places the interests of white Americans first, not black Americans, because that's the thing, we're Americans by default. When all of this was done back then, it wasn't done with it in mind that we want to live harmoniously with all colors of people. America's a melting pot by default. It's a melting pot because they dragged us here, and now everybody's coming here to find a bit of freedom. But, that it was not their intention to actually make America a melting pot. We were only brought here to build the country. It was just a little harder to get rid of us. Our population grew exponentially. Now it's a little harder. We only wanted them here really as slaves to build us up, but now we can't really get rid of them. You get what I'm saying? So the country wasn't built with our interests in mind, ours or Native Americans. It was built with an idea that a perfect society was deserved of them, that they deserved a society, that was white. They deserved a society that was all their own, that was a population of, less than 1 million of white, blonde hair, blue-eyed individuals. And not even just blonde hair, blue-eyed, just as long as you had no ethnic connections at all. That's what they wanted when they built this country. And it's just by default that we were already here, so they couldn't get rid of us. It was just by default that the Native Americans were already here, and they did all they can to eradicate the Native Americans. But that's what I'm saying. It's just by default that we are here. and that it became a gateway for other countries to find freedom. That's by default, but that's not what the original intent was at all. So understand what racism actually is. It is racist, all of our black men that are being shot in cold blood in the street. These cops have been trained, whether you like to believe it or not, these cops have been trained to target a certain group of people. And the sad thing about it, it's not even just black men and women. Police are targeting black men specifically. And the reason for that is because black men have always been the tip of the black pyramid. It's always been men, women, and children. Black men have always been the tip of the black pyramid. If you remove what is supposed to be the backbone of a people, if you remove what is supposed to be the protector, the provider, the everything that a black man is to a black woman, to his black children, when you remove that or corrupt it, you've corrupted the entire community. You know how they say if you educate an individual, you've only educated that individual. If you educate a woman, you educate a nation. If you kill a woman, you kill a woman, but if you kill a man, you're killing off everything that could have come from him. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's a reason that our black men are targeted. There cannot be any more black families if there are not black men. You get what I'm saying? So these men are making babies, and maybe they're not doing what black men as a whole, and I'm not even going to say that, because that's straight bullshit. That's the thing. That's what white America is, leading us to believe that there are problems within our community that there are not. Because I was just about to say that it's already a problem for us that black men aren't in black households, but statistically, there are more black men present in their children's lives than of any other race. That means that even if, whether or not they are living with them, they still see and interact with their kids on a regular basis. That is a higher statistic for black men than any other race. So that's the thing. They will say these things in the news, feed you this bullshit about how black men aren't in the home, feed you this bullshit about black on black crime. And that's exactly what it is. It's bullshit. It's propaganda. I really was about to say it out like it was a fact, even though I know these statistics, because it's just so embedded in me that all black men aren't there for their children, even though I know from my experience everybody in my family is married. I'm married. Everybody in my family has been married for 5+ years, except me. I'm only on year 1 and some change. Like, I know I didn't even grow up in an environment where I seen that a single parent households, but here I am about to state it as fact. All black men aren't in the homes. So I know that black men are in their homes, and I know that they make even more of an effort to extinguish black men who are doing what they need to do as men. Black men, you always hear stories about, he's a hard worker, he had a good job, held it down for this many years. So why in tarnation was he killed over some bullshit? Because this is a black man who's the head of a black family, something that scares our government. Let me not say white people. Somebody actually didn't say that, mention that in the last video I made. She said I generalized at the end. I did, so I do apologize for that. I say white people because it is white people. Not like white people, like regular people, civilians, but the people who have put all of this into motion, the people back then in 1776, the people now, that small, understand that a small family holds all the resources, controls the media, like, though it is a white family. Illuminati is a white family. Don't ever let somebody have you believe that black people are part of the Illuminati. That's crap. They are pawns of the Illuminati. Black people can be Freemasons, but not the Illuminati. They work for the Anyway, so that's why I say white people, because I know that it is white people, that group from 1776, their families that still reign strong today, that still hold our resources, that still control our education, our media, our entertainment. I know that that is white people. It's not black people, not people of color, not Native Americans, not Japanese, not anybody except white people. And I don't even know what kind of white. I don't know if it's European, Caucasian. I don't know what kind of white, but I know that they are white people. That's why I say white people. So I can't say, there's no other way for me to describe it. So when I say white people, I don't mean just the regular civilian on the street who has no idea, doesn't even want to believe that their government can be sinister. I'm talking about the white government, because it is white people. Like, let's not ignore that fact. It is white people, but not all white people. Though there are, you guys get what I'm saying. I'm not even going to explain that more. The people that oppress us, the government that oppresses us, they are white, period. Okay? So that's what I mean when I say white people. But anywho. Whew. But anywho, that's the difference between racism and prejudice. Prejudice, you just hurt somebody a little bitty feelings. Racism, you actually affect their lives. Every decision that has been made, everything that happens to us in this country is based off the fact that I am black. It's based off the fact that you are black. Mike Brown was killed because he was black. Trayvon Martin was killed because he was black. I could actually name off a few people. Where the heck is my laptop? Right here. All these people, like, that's what needs to be understood. Of course, there are instances where these people were killed, where people were killed because they were actually criminals. It is possible to be a criminal and be black, of course, but let's not get cute. Let's not act like a majority of these men don't die simply because of their skin tone. And actually, I was talking to somebody on Facebook about that. She was saying, I don't see race, blah, blah, blah. If I don't make it in life, it's because of me, blah, blah, blah. Not because I'm black, blah, blah, blah. People are still use that excuse to keep the white man down, blah, blah, blah. I had to break it down for her. Because, and this is, I'm going to try to paraphrase. This is what I explained to her. If I'm talking to a black person and you tell me the white man's trying to keep me down, I'm not going to accept that answer. I'm gonna look at that as an excuse, because we know, we know that the white man tries to keep you down. We know these things. These things are in place. So you can no longer use that as an excuse. Once you know better, you do better. So we know that we're in a position, we know what position we are. We know where we stand with white people. We know that we will continue to be a disadvantage by white people. So now we can no longer use that excuse. If you know what somebody is going to do, how can you still fall for what that person is doing? You get what I'm saying? So if I'm talking to a black person, you can no longer use that excuse with me. The white man is trying to keep me down. Yeah, we know that. And now that we know that, we're going to do better than that. You feel me? But in a public forum, we are absolutely going to address the fact that white people, or the white man, that small group of people that I was talking about, it did trickle down through the government, through the entertainment, through the media, down to civilians to keep the black man down. That's not going to be ignored, because that is something that is going on. That is something that actually happens, that actually exists, that black people are purposely disadvantaged by white people. That absolutely needs to be acknowledged. We're not gonna say, oh, black people are just using it as an excuse at a town hall meeting. I'm gonna tell you, my brother, that you need to stop using it as an excuse. But in a forum, I'm not gonna throw my brother under the bus and say he's just using it as an excuse, because he very may well be using it as an excuse. But that's not gonna that's not gonna diminish the fact that that is something that is actually done on a regular basis, that people are purposely being disadvantaged. He may be using it as an excuse, just like I didn't come to the park because it was raining. I mean, or whatever, you know, like, I'm using that as an excuse. We know, they know it's raining. Everybody's happy with it. I'm using it as an excuse. But we're not going to ignore the fact that it's actually raining. We're not going to ignore what is right here in front of us. You get what I'm saying? I hope I explained myself as best as I could, because it's a long video, and this is like my 4th time making it, and I really don't want to make it over again. But I really hope that I explained it well for you. Prejudice, that's what prejudice is. Me not liking you, for whatever reason. Racism is a whole lot of prejudiced people building a prejudiced country, perpetuating those prejudiced beliefs. That's what racism is. I hope I explained that best. Rate, comment, subscribe later.